The Kangra Valley in northern India, renowned for its agriculture, traditional arts and crafts, and for its places of pilgrimage. Running on a narrow-gauge track for over 80 years, the Kangra-Valley Railway makes its way through one of the most beautiful and varied valleys in northern India beneath the foothills of the southern Himalayas. The starting point of our 160-kilometre journey on the narrow-gauge railway through the Kangra Valley is Pathankot in the province of Punjab. 7 times a day, passengers fight to grab the best seats, since scheduled trains operate without any seat reservations. In India, trains remain by far the cheapest mode of transport, so the compartments are almost always overcrowded. The 6 to 7 hour journey costs only 30 rupees, the equivalent of 50 euro cents. And since the Kangra Railway is regarded as one of the most fascinating lines in India, tens of thousands of tourists from all around the world also come to enjoy the nostalgic trip. The line was approved for passenger transport in 1929. It is situated around 500 kilometers northwest of the capital city Delhi and runs exclusively through the province of Himachal Pradesh right after leaving Pathankot. The difference in altitude is about 800 meters. The difficult mountain terrain posed great challenges for the British constructors and engineers. Almost 1,000 bridges had to be built on a stretch of only 165 kilometers. Some of them are more than 100 meters long. This one, number 32, was partly destroyed by flooding. It took 1 year to rebuild it. The road bridge, which suffered even worse damage, has still not been cleared for traffic 2 years after the flood. Travelling on the Kangra Valley Railway is how one expects the railway to be in India. The compartments are overcrowded, but people endure it with great patience. Those who can't find a seat simply enjoy the journey as best they can. Since there are only 2 tunnels on the entire line, the danger of an accident is comparatively low. At the time, the constructors did all they could to provide as clear a view as possible of the valley and the mountains, and they succeeded. They also prevented extremely narrow bends and steep inclines. The original instructions were clear: to create a train line that is in harmony with nature. We're approaching Nurpur station, the first major station on the way to Bajnat. It's worth interrupting the journey here. Some of the most beautiful parts of the Kangra Valley are situated in the region of Nurpur. Large expanses of forests, mostly nature reserves, cover the area below the massive Dauladar mountain range. Forests cover almost 70% of the total area of the province of Himachal Pradesh. Timber felling is controlled by the state. Only sick or dead trees may be cut down in the nature reserves. Only state-licensed companies may process the wood. This one is in the small village of Batrahan and has 24 employees. It's very tough work for Anas Singh and Bodh Raj. The job is done in just half an hour. The trunk has been divided and can be dragged to the sawmill. Strong muscles are required. Labdinan's company supplies to the furniture industry and construction companies. The hardwood is mainly used for building houses. Satish Singh is a foreman and has been working here for 15 years. Every year, between 500 and 600 cubic meters of processed wood leave the yard. The high season for producing charcoal is from August to March. It's second line of work for this small Batrahan business. Donaris Rara is an expert in stacking the wood. It will take 3 days for the wood to turn into charcoal. Especially in the rural areas of India, charcoal remains the most important cooking fuel. It's mainly delivered to hotels and restaurants. The stack must cool for 2 days before it can be opened. Donaris Rara is 50 years old and has been producing charcoal since his youth. He loves the job that he learned from his father. He's been working for this company for over 10 years, producing 10,000 sacks of charcoal weighing 30 kilos each during every season. That's no less than 300 tons. Fatan Singh is still a labourer, but he's been learning here for 3 years and hopes to take Donaris Rara's place as a charcoal burner one day. Back to Nurpur, where we left the Kangra-Valley Railway. The Nurpur fort has dominated above the small town's roofs for nearly 1,000 years. Built by the ruler of the time, Tagat Singh, it was later conquered by the famous Muslim Mughal emperor Jahangir. His descendants controlled this part of India until the end of the 18th century. The former public audience hall. Much of the fort was destroyed in 1905 by a devastating earthquake. The temple dedicated to Radha Krishna is still in good condition, however. This palace used to be the residence of the Queen. They feel especially comfortable in India's monuments, since visitors always have a bite to eat. He feels a little bored today, though. At a top speed of 40 kilometers per hour, the travellers continue through the Kangra Valley towards Yawalamukhi Road. Ravi Mota is the train driver. He's 54 years old and has been working for the Northern Indian Railways for 31 years. Since the gauge is only 76 centimeters, the train rocks considerably at that speed. Only a few more kilometers to Yawalamukhi. We reach the next stop after about 3 hours. Like other stations on the route, little has changed since its construction over 80 years ago. No industry or significant workshops are to be found in and around the small town of Yawalamukhi. The people here mainly make their living with agriculture and rearing farm animals. They live in small, charming villages. Most of the houses are still made of clay, are decorated with wood verandas and have slate roofs. They are the ideal building materials in a region where it gets extremely hot in the summer but quite cold during the winter. This village is called Dusgela and can only be reached on foot. 40 families and numerous animals live in peaceful activity far away from the usual noise of India's cities. During the day, only women and children are at home, since the men are out working in the fields. Moni Bala and Kirijit are on their way to the village well. Running water in the houses will remain just a dream for a number of years to come. Both these women were born in a neighbouring village and moved to Duskela after marrying. They've been friends since childhood, live in close proximity to each other, and both became mothers for the first time 2 years ago. Little has changed in the home's kitchen over the last 100 years. The food is almost exclusively vegetarian, as in many Indian households. A chicken may be slaughtered on special occasions. It's early November. The rainy season is over. The rice has been harvested. Now the fields can be prepared for re-sowing. Barley or wheat is grown, while maize is also planted in other parts of the Kangra-Valley. People here have long advanced beyond self-sufficient farming. They produce surpluses, which they can easily sell at the markets in the towns. Himachal Pradesh is one of the few provinces in India that produces more food than the people need themselves. Although the Mashura Mountain Temple was severely damaged by the 1905 earthquake, it remains one of the exceptional cultural monuments in the Kangra Valley. It is said that the 15 Hindu temples were built here in an Indo-Aryan style as early as the 8th century, but that cannot be confirmed. The main temple was originally dedicated to the god Shiva. Today, Krishna and Lakshmi, the goddess of beauty and happiness, are also worshipped here. Departure from Yawalamukhi Road, continuing on the route towards Kangra. This is the start of one of the most beautiful sections of the line. Like most Indian mountain railways, this one was built by the British during their rule of India. The responsible constructor was Ernest Bertrand Neave Taylor. Work on the railway began in 1925. The line was opened 3 years later, though initially only for freight trains. Back then, a large hydroelectric power plant was built along the Oul River in the Kangra Valley. The train was an ideal mode of transport for the required materials. The first passenger train travelled from Pathankot to Palampur in April 1929. Since then, a number of bridges have had to be renewed or restored due to damage from another earthquake in the valley in the 1970s. Nevertheless, the Kangra-Valley Railway remains one of the best maintained and, above all, longest mountain railways in the world. That is why the Indian government applied for its inclusion in the list of UNESCO World Heritage Sites in 2009. What is so special about the train is that it is not only a tourist attraction, but also a normal mode of transport for the local population and for the many pilgrims visiting the valley. Locals regard the Kangra-Valley Railway as being a technical creation designed in harmony with nature. It is a landmark of the region and is not seen as a harbinger of unwanted change. In many districts of India, traditions have been supplanted by progress. Utensils needed for everyday tasks are now mainly produced in factories or imported. The Kangra Valley is different. Small craftsmen's workshops still exist here. For instance, weaving and pottery. Mayor Chand Singh employs 7 members of his family in his business. He took it over from his father 20 years ago. Pottery has been a family tradition for 200 years, covering 8 generations. The range of products is diverse. Chand Singh's wife is responsible for painting the pots. In recent weeks, however, they've been producing almost nothing but small oil lamps, because every autumn the Hindus celebrate Diwali, the festival of lights. It lasts several days and can be compared to Christmas due to its spiritual and social significance as well as its joyful nature. In northern India, Diwali is also the beginning of the new year, which is extensively celebrated here in a small mountain village. The Hindus regard Diwali as the renewal of life. Old lamps are thrown away and new ones are bought. They are intended to help the souls of the dead find their way to heaven. People also believe that their ancestors visit their homes during the festival, so lights are lit to guide the dead. The song, sung by the women and children, is addressed to the goddess of happiness, Lakshmi, Vishnu's wife, and roughly translates as, "Come into our house, it is open. Bring us happiness and health. Be with our families, especially our children. Please protect us all." And just as in our part of the world, the Hindu New Year is welcomed with a small fireworks display. Perhaps the goddess of happiness and beauty also oversaw the train line's construction. 482 bends, 993 bridges, and only 2 tunnels. So the view into the valley is almost uninterrupted, even if many of the frequent passengers no longer really enjoy it. For them, the journey is an everyday event. Steam locomotives were used until the 1970s. Since then, 700 horsepower diesel locomotives have done the job of drawing the carriages. 7 trains run every day, but only in one direction or the other. The first tunnel appears after 80 kilometers. It's just under 80 meters long. The constructor's achievement of building such long, straight sections despite the difficult terrain also had a negative influence on the history of the Kangra-Valley Railway. During the Second World War, the British were unable to produce enough railway tracks in their own country due to a lack of raw materials. So they simply ordered 56 kilometers of this line to be dismantled and transported back to England by ship. There, the tracks were directly reused or molten down. It took until 1954 before this line was fully operational again. The valley opens up. Kangra, the largest city in the region, is not far away. Some passengers are now tired, since they've been traveling for more than 4 hours. The station of the provincial capital Kangra, the most important stop on the way through this unusual valley. Kangra has around 250,000 inhabitants and is a bureaucratic, business and cultural centre. It invites visitors to dive into the Indian way of life. A view of Kangra Fort, which is, however, a ruin inside. It was built around the same time as the fortress in Nurpur. They are everywhere where visitors might appear. Over 250 years ago, a very special form of artistic painting emerged in the courts of the Himalaya foothills, in the so-called Pahari region, which includes the Kangra Valley. Miniature drawings on paper showed themes of holy figures and worldly poetry, reported on the achievements of princes, and presented the myths of the creation and downfall of this world. Dani Ramkushdil is an artist who upholds this almost extinct tradition. He only uses natural colours, such as from the cactus fruit, for his delicate pictures, and gold. The now 39-year-old was trained for 4 years by his master. Since then, he's been his own boss. The detailed work takes so much concentration that he can only draw for 4 hours a day. So a drawing takes up to a week to complete. His pictures in these sizes cost between 100 and 300 euros. The presentations mostly focus on scenes with the Hindu god Krishna, who can be seen here protecting people from a downpour using a rock. Indra, the weather god and Krishna's opponent, has sent the rain down to earth. This picture shows Shiva with his wife Parvati and their son Kartikeya. A dancing woman in love waiting for her friend. There are only 5 miniature painters in the Kangra region today, so in 2004, Dani Ramkushdil decided to pass on his skill to the younger generation. Ever since, he's been teaching around 20 students in his home or in the museum in Kangra. Now he can look forward to the future with optimism. People like miniature art again, and I think if so many people are interested in it, our work will once again become famous all around the world. A few years ago, when the government refused to support our training centre in Kangra, I thought our art would die out. But now we get official funding, so I believe in the success of our work. His students are also optimistic. For instance, Suresh Kumar. I've been interested in this type of painting since I was a child. My mentor, Dani Ram, has been a great inspiration. He paved the way for me from the start. I learned a great deal from him, so slowly, painting is becoming my profession. So, there's hope for a valuable art form. Before continuing by train to Palampur and Baishnath, we take a detour to the foothills of the Himalayas, a few kilometers north of Kangra. Now famous throughout the world, the town of Dharamshala is situated at an altitude of almost 2,000 meters. In 1960, the Dalai Lama took up residence in the former British garrison town with his government in exile. 1 year earlier, The religious leader of the Tibetans had fled from Lhasa after serious conflict with the Chinese occupation forces. Since then, the small town has also been called Little Lhasa. Today, it's a destination for tourists from around the world, especially followers of Buddhist teachings. A beautiful park in the heart of the town, which dates back to colonial times, had to make way for new shops, hotels and restaurants. Today, around 50,000 Tibetans, including 20,000 monks, live in Dharamshala and the surrounding region. Since the Dalai Lama often travels, not everyone is able to see him personally in a ceremony. The Gyuto monastery is situated a little outside Dharamshala. About 500 monks and novices live, learn and work here. As in almost all Buddhist monasteries, guests are welcome to attend the daily rituals. The original Gyuto monastery was founded in eastern Tibet in the 15th century and was destroyed by the Chinese in 1959. Some monks were able to flee to India, but most were killed during the bombings or were taken prisoner. The newly built monastery bears the same name in their honor. Another tragic effect of the violent suppression of an entire people is the story of the Tibetan refugee children. Even today, some are sent by their parents to India, sometimes under extremely dangerous circumstances and without a family, in order to be educated in and live by their traditional culture. Thanks to donations from all around the world, 1,700 refugee children are currently being taught at this school in Dharamshala. The teacher, Naindai Sangpo, fled in 1985 at the age of 5. He grew up here and then studied to become a teacher. The children learn Tibetan, Hindi and English. The school's general secretary, Thupten Dorji, regards the fact that the children have to grow up without parents as not the greatest problem.
I think sometimes people ask if the children are not too traumatized or so, but fortunately for our children, this is not the problem, major problem. Why? Because they have a purpose of escaping out of Tibet. That is for freedom, that is for education. So when they arrive here, of course they go through very difficult journey, the danger of not being caught by the Chinese, the pain of separation from their parents and relatives. These are something that the children bear through. But then once they arrive here, they feel now they have the whole opportunity ahead of them, to get a good education and grow up as Tibetan. So I think this consoles the children of the hardship that they have gone through.
The primary aim for the exiled Tibetan government is to maintain its own culture with its traditions and crafts, even outside their homeland here in Dharamshala. The Nobulinka Institute was founded for just that purpose. It is an impressive facility with a temple, a small hotel and a cafe. Over 300 craftsmen are employed in the numerous workshops, including roughly 100 apprentices. All of the workshops can be visited, and almost everything produced here can be bought on site. Only these large statues are not for sale. They are exclusively produced to order for monasteries and other Buddhist institutions. The men work for several weeks on one such figure. Its price is between 12,000 and 15,000 euros. Now the train continues towards Palampur. To this day, there's no more beautiful way of travelling through the Kangra Valley, with all of its numerous highlights on both sides of the line. Around 3 million passengers per year are a clear indication. It is a success story that was only interrupted during World War II and once again in the 1970s. An earthquake and the construction of a dam caused the route's closure between 1973 and 1976. It's also worth getting off the train between Kangra and Palampur. This Hindu temple, built in the southern Indian style, is situated in the small village of Baba Boda, south of the line. It was built to honour the shepherd god Krishna and his dearest Radha. It is guarded by Ganesha, the god of wisdom and scholarship. The special thing about the temple is that it can also be entered by non-Hindus, as the priest Joginder Sharma confirms. The shrine with Krishna and Radha. In Indian legends, Krishna is the most vivacious god who was never averse to an amorous adventure. He enjoyed girls with lighter skin, watching them as they bathed, and liked to dance with them. It's about half an hour yet before we arrive in Palampur. Almost unnoticed, the train will have climbed 800 metres by the time it gets there. Although the Kangra-Valley Railway is no less than 80 years of age, India's history of mountain trains began much earlier. It was almost entirely dominated by the British. The Darjeeling-Himalaya Railway was opened as early as 1881, the Nilgiri Mountain Railway in 1889, and the Kalka-Shimla Railway first ran in 1903, more than 25 years before the line through the Kangra Valley. No doubt that is of little interest to today's passengers. For them, this heirloom of the former colonial power, which the Indian government carefully maintains, is the cheapest and most comfortable mode of transport from A to B. Arrival at the station in Palampur at an altitude of around 1,200 metres. Many people get off the train here because, like Kangra, Palampur is an important centre in the valley. It's a nice place to go shopping and do good business. Foreign tourists also enjoy coming here, since its size of 140,000 inhabitants makes it manageable and yet typically Indian. Although the roasted peanuts taste as delicious as anywhere else, Palampur is actually famous for its tea. The fields that reach into the city are called tea gardens, due to their dense stock of trees. The cultivation area is very limited by Indian standards, but Kangra Valley tea enjoys a good reputation among experts. It's harvested in a very unconventional way here. Actually, they're only supposed to eat the weeds. Andretta is only a few kilometers away from Palampur. It's a small settlement of farmers in the midst of the tea gardens, rice fields and fruit plantations. Pure spring water and the peace of the small town have attracted a number of artists here in recent decades. For instance, Nora Richards, the pioneer of Indian rural theatre, and Shobha Singh, the most successful painter of the last century in Himachal Pradesh. The devout Sikh became famous far beyond the borders of his own country with his paintings. One of his most famous paintings, The Goatherd. Although Shobha Singh was a Sikh, he was open-minded towards other religions. He drew Hindu gods such as Lord Krishna and Lord Rama, or himself on the way to Mecca with a high Muslim dignitary. This is a portrait of the last Sikh guru. Govind Singh died in 1708. He nominated no heir, saying, "Whoever wishes to see a guru should seek him out." Back at the station in Palampur, the station master, Sritam Chand, is on the way to his workplace. He's not only responsible for the smooth operation of the railway, but also for selling tickets. We didn't come across a ticket inspector on the trains. That surprised us. So we asked Sritam Chand about passengers' honesty.
Sir, there is checking in a month 2 or 3 times, but due to short staff shortage, we have not daily checking in the trains. People are very honest, or they are coming from the nearby villages and they get tickets before boarding the train. But there may be 5 to 10% without tickets in the trains.
The train can only continue once the station master has used this key to change the junction points and turn the signal to green. It's part of the safety system that all mountain trains have in India. And then we were able to judge the passengers' honesty for ourselves as we experienced a ticket inspection. She says, of course, she has a ticket. Yes, sure. Please hand me the tickets so I can show them. Everything is in order here. Yes, I also have a ticket. You're welcome to take a look. I'd never travel without one.
I have it.
Of course, I'll gladly show you. Do you also have a ticket? Yes, I belong to the group over there. We have a group ticket. The passengers seem to be even more honest than the station manager presumed. Not a single passenger took advantage of the fact that there are so few inspections on this line. The Kangra-Valley Railway really is a masterpiece of British engineering. Back then, the men were able to build a route that was in harmony with the beauty, peace and sublimity of the environment. After the Declaration of Independence in 1947, the Indians took over this British heirloom with great responsibility and maintain it to this day. It is authentic and in good shape. The Kangra-Valley Railway has been spared the fate of many narrow-gauge railways of the world, which now operate only as museum lines to attract tourists. That will remain so, since for the people here, there will be no cheaper mode of transport, and none more attractive in the years ahead. Only a few more minutes until the train arrives at Bajnat station. It is the final stop for most of the passengers. Those who wish to can continue another 20 kilometers to Joginder Nagar, but only twice a day. Bajnat is one of the most important places of pilgrimage in the Kangra Valley. According to the inscriptions, the temple dates back to 804 and is India's oldest surviving place of worship for the god Shiva. Many people from the surrounding region come here every day. Tens of thousands of pilgrims from throughout the country endure the long journey in an effort to visit this holy site at least once in their lives. Many sick people seek healing here. The Bajnat temple is also a fitting way for every non-Hindu to end a trip through one of the most beautiful valleys in India. One which is so cosmopolitan that it naturally provided 50,000 Tibetan Buddhists with a new home.